We've got 2 recordings.
We do.
Yeah. All right. So we'll start, and you can edit out any of the garb as well. So let's do this.
Okay, perfect.
So welcome and happy 2025. I'm thinking it's still okay to say that.
Yes, absolutely.
I never know what the rule is. It's like in January, it's still the new year.
I'm
and
like,
I haven't spoken to you.
Happy New Year all year.
I know. So, well, look, it's great to chat with you. I know when we last spoke, you had a big milestone that you just have achieved. So, I guess, is it happy anniversary, 10-year anniversary?
Oh, yes, it was on the 11th of January, the official date. I actually fished out my records at the end of last year when, but I think it was around November or so, which I went, oh my gosh, it's coming up to 10 years. So I was like, it would be so amazing to find when it actually happened, because I don't have an idea of the exact date, because how I was looking at it is the date that I call my anniversary is the day that my first sale occurred.
So yes. Look, for those who I guess are just meeting you for the first time, explain what the 10-year date is.
Oh, it is 10 years since I launched Soul Enchantress and literally stepped into this role of being a cosmic sound alchemist, sorceress, seer, and shaman. And obviously it's evolved from there into being an author, a financial wellness thought leader, and I'm also an ambassador for the Global Wellness Institute. So it just keeps on going and evolving. But it's when I first stepped into doing this work, looking at the energetics of in the arenas of money, business, wellness, and success. So it's 10 years since I've been in business as the Soul Enchantress, so it's a whole decade.
But let's rewind a little bit, because I know when we've spoken in the past, even though it's been 10 years where you've immersed yourself in your Soul Enchantress
persona,
I was going to say persona. You had inklings and you knew you had certain talents in this space way before you actually decided to do it.
So yes. I think when you asked me a question like what made you transition into this, because I was an international fashion designer and then a luxury magazine editor and publisher, and so my work was always in the luxury arena and in sort of the marketing and branding and obviously fashion. When all of my businesses, like, they morphed into the other. So this is something that I actually bring to the table, and even with my business leader clients that I speak about, including entrepreneurs and CEOs as well, is that you shouldn't constrict yourself into just this one silo, because your soul will drive you to where you're really meant to be, especially if you're in some kind of an industry or a business or a job that you're not supposed to be in, but that is not the most aligned with who you are. Yeah. So when I was a fashion designer, it morphed into becoming this luxury digital magazine, because I was looking for a way to keep in touch with my global clients. Again, I always wanted a global business, and that's where my focus has always been. So it's just innate in me to jump into a global marketplace. And when I was looking for a way to stay in touch, then I came up with this idea of a magazine, but then the magazine took a life of its own, and I had all of these luxury brands, everyone from Rolls-Royce and Chopard and Sony Music, Versace, like all of these big, huge brands and luxury jet companies and super yacht companies. They came and they wanted to work with me. So that kind of superseded the designer label. And then it became the magazine. So then the magazine, in all of that, this is who I was. This is who I have always been. So it came to a point at one point where I was like, no, I am here to do something really impactful and bigger than myself, but I've still not stepped into that. And I kept saying that towards that last year when I was actually running my magazine. And then I just went, you know what? This is it. I'm doing it. And I am going to be who I am. And that's just how it's going to be. And I stepped into being the Soul Enchantress, and it just everything again catapulted into like my abilities and talents, and everything that I had that was innate in me just bubbled up to the surface and just quantum leaped. And it's like, here I am, and this is who I am, and this is what I'm meant to do. And it was so obvious. And then those clients, some of them stepped into being my clients. So.
Yeah. So, look, it's an interesting, because I would suspect there's many people out there who they know there's something more. They want to be doing something more with their lives, but they're just not sure how to either.
I think it's fear that holds them back.
Yeah, I was going to say, face their fear.
It's a fear of, okay, and it's a fear and also a loss of identity. So here's the thing. If you, like, one of my things that I do is called Unleashing the New You. And you cannot become the next and the most enhanced version of you without leaving who you are right now. So there's a fear of breaking down that identity. And I don't mean like, the identities that I morphed into were serious changes. But people don't have to do that. They can actually do it in such a way where it's more subtle, where, they may not change industries and everything. It may just be that, maybe they're in accounting and they're doing something to do with accounting, but they're meant to actually do something with marketing side of things, or maybe the creative and advertising and more, sort of graphic design side of it. Does that make sense? But they're too afraid to swap because, like, oh, I'm a numbers person. I'm not supposed to be playing with, the branding side of things, or colors and designs and things like that. So it's a fear factor that holds people back.
And I suspect there's
money.
Also money, but also judgment.
Yes, exactly. They're afraid of. That's what I mean by the identity piece. So they're afraid of losing that identity, and especially when it comes to more established, the more successful you are. Like, all of my 3 businesses, this is the 3rd one, but they're all successful, and I'm identified and I'm plastered in every magazine around the world as a fashion designer. Then I become a magazine publisher, and then I become the Soul Enchantress. Like, it's just, you can read about it on my About page on my website, soulenchantress.com, where it's my business journey, and I take you through it. And it's like, well, you're going to get ostracized. I was like, well, it's something I need to do, but it takes a lot of guts.
Yeah, absolutely. And, sometimes you just have to you just have to not worry about what people will say or think, because at the end of the day,
you can gauge that percentage of how much you're supposed to take the leap by how much you know and believe that this is something you have to do.
Yeah.
You can't do it because you are a bit iffy about it. It has to be, I have to jump. It's like, you just have to have that total sense of conviction, because otherwise you're not going to start running. You'll just kind of fall.
Yeah, absolutely. And, back yourself, hey, guys. Because once you start doing something you love and you make money from it, the world just becomes a much nicer place to be.
Yes, of course.
And you're in your flow, and every day you're bouncing out of bed, as opposed to going, oh, God, I've got to go to work today.
Yes, exactly. And then work becomes play.
Yes, totally. So what I do, we will talk about play in a little bit. I did want to chat to you about, there's been a massive shift, and you will have seen this over your 10 years, in our uptake, I guess, of looking at different ways to experience growth or experience wellness. So for example, in the clients that you see that are, high net worth, big business owners, you would not expect them, us with our judging hat on, to seek out like an energy healer, as what you do for their growth. You'd think they'd be seeing a business coach or a financial strategist, or and maybe they do that as well. But the fact that they're also broadening where they're getting support from and coaching.
So here's the thing. And you are right with what you just said, but I'm not seen as an energy healer because, like 2 seconds on my website, and if you're a business leader and you're looking at it, you realize that this person has a wealth and a depth of business acumen. Does that make sense?
So, and you're referring to yourself when you say that.
Sorry. Yeah. So, if this is, say it's someone who doesn't know me, and usually my clients come through referral, but if someone doesn't know me and they take a look, they pretty much within a few moments you can understand, if you do some reading, that there is a depth and a wealth of business acumen, and that is what they come for. So end of last year, when I realized that I was coming up to my 10 years, I thought, this is so interesting, because like my business has evolved. I mean, the business that I'm in today is not the business that I started with, obviously. And so I thought I would actually ask a few of my business leader clients why they work with me, and like what is it that draws them to work with me, which is exactly the question that you're kind of asking. And they gave me kind of like a few different answers, but then 3 of the reasons they gave were common amongst everyone. And so if you'd like, I can share that with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
don't leave us hanging.
So the first one was that the wisdom that, because obviously I channel, the wisdom that I channel, which is not coming from my brain, the wisdom that I channel, whether it is to do with their money, their business, their success, their wellness, their relationships, is mind-blowing, and just like really transformational when it comes to the application of it to whatever it is that they're applying it to. So that was one of the things. And the second one was that apparently it's my ability to meld the invisible realms into those arenas of money, business, success, and wellness. And obviously it goes into relationships anyway, because you're a whole being. You're not like compartmentalized into, okay, this is my business and this is my relationship. So they said that it was my way to be able to see something that was invisible, to see opportunities that didn't seem to exist, to find solutions to a brick wall facing you, or to something that seemed unmovable. And the third one was that, it escapes me now. What was the third one? Is that...
I'm sure it'll... I mean, when I hear you...
Oh, sorry, yes. And the third one, yes. The third one was the fact that my cosmic sound medicine that underpins and is the bedrock of all of the work that I do. So I use the power of sound to harmonize your finances, your business, your money, your success, your wellness, and your body, mind, spirit. And so the cosmic sound medicine piece. So it was those three. It was the wisdom that gets channeled. It's the ability to see the invisible and meld it into the physical, and the cosmic sound medicine. And those three things together with my understanding of, like, the luxury end of the business world, so that whole thing just kind of makes it a force to be reckoned with.
But do you think, too, we are, by and large, a lot more open to, like vibrations and channeling and all the things, because there is a lot more evidence of people having success with, this?
Yes, they also, you'll find that the more successful someone is, and I've had this conversation as well with my clients, and this is kind of the mind-blowing part as well sometimes, is that they feel that they were guided the whole way. So say someone comes to me, obviously they've been in business for, I don't know, decades, and they didn't know me, and they're super, super successful. They're not coming to me to find out how to make money. They know how to, like, buy and sell countries. So they have known that they're guided all the time, but they didn't know how it worked. They felt there was something, a presence bigger than them, that was actually quite influential. So when we worked together, and I would come up with things, and I would say to them, well, did you ever used to do like this and this? Did things come to you in this way? And did this happen? And this is because of this, and this is because this is what was helping you. And they're like, oh my gosh, do you see what I mean? So there's more clarification, and they always knew there is a bigger presence. And I find that the more successful the business leaders are, they know the mystical side of things, or they understand and they believe it, even if they don't discuss it even amongst themselves.
Yeah, and look, I think too, something that I've just picked up on what you've said is, just taking that time out to sit back and reflect, because often thoughts will come and go and we disregard them. Whereas if you actually stop and acknowledge, as they say, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be, or sometimes you need to step back and just let things happen, because there is something bigger, there is something greater.
It's actually, it's just, it's you. I mean, it is you on a larger scale. But also I think sometimes it's not, like with my work, I don't actually spoon feed. I don't spoon feed you. It's more, I empower you to use the tools that I give you, and it's almost like you can consult with me, but I empower you to find your own solutions, your own pathways, but I kind of guide you and direct you, because otherwise it's like, you're walking around with a flashlight in the forest, right? And no matter how successful you are, but if someone just kind of shines a spotlight from the top and just shows you the pathway, you're like, oh, I can see the pathway, but I would like to walk this section, I would like to cut away this section, I would like to dance along this, I'd like to kind of hop along here, I'd like to run in this section. You're coming up with all of that, but your path is being guided. Does that make sense? So I actually empower them. I don't spoon feed them, and that's it. That's like, if someone wants the handheld, I'm not their girl.
Yeah. Well, no, and there's way more power in empowering people.
Yes. I don't want them to depend on me. That's the other thing, and that's another reason where most people, whether when they're mentors and stuff, they want people to keep coming back to you. It's like the therapist, right? They want you to keep, and then you're hooked on your therapist. But I don't want people to depend on me. I want them to come to me, work with me, then go away. Then when they're ready to soar again to their next level, expand their business again, become more successful and make more money, come to me again. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
So sorry, I've just got a tickle in my throat.
Oh, no, that's okay.
Yeah, so I was also going to ask you, because, just jumping ahead a little bit here, is, people, at the end of the day, we want freedom, right? We want, the freedom and that independence and the ability to live a life we want to live. And I know you're a big fan of that, which is why you took the leap of faith you have, is to have the lifestyle you want. So can you share your philosophy? And I know you and I are both big advocates of slow living. So can you share your philosophy around that?
Yes, sure. So slow living is, I mean, this is a term that's tossed around, and you know, there's like a movement attached to it. However, I have a slightly different take on it. I think it even maybe can be renamed, but for me, slow living is actually, it's a way of life, and it's actually living more deeply, more relaxed and calm, more rejuvenated, and it's a state of being, really, from which you're tapped into the wholeness of you. So it's not pretty pictures on your social media feeds. And a lot of the time I find that with, you know, people who speak about slow living or whatever, it's very superficial what they're doing, and then it seems to, most people seem to tag on to it and still have this hectic life. They're still traveling every second week, and they've got meetings every minute of the day, and they're going on travel that is like, you know, jam everything in as much as you can into the one trip or what your budget can allow. And the work schedule is like bang, 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 bang. And then, you know, that's kind of what their day is like. So, and their marketing is, you know, all to do with what other people are doing in the latest hacks and what works for someone else. So to me, that's the complete opposite of it. And so
yes, I was just about to say, that sounds like hectic living.
Yes,
living.
But a lot of people still do that and say that, you know, it is slow living because it just kind of, they're speaking about the top part of it, but they're really not living deep. So for me, it's a way of living, it's living more deeply, and it's actually a state of being. And if you will allow me, I'll kind of break it down into like 3 segments. So like I call it my travel, work, play lifestyle. And so it's like slow play, that slow living is obviously, as I said to you, just living more deeply and immersing yourself in, allowing yourself to experience every moment of the day, no matter what you're doing. And then slow play for me is pretty much picking like 1 or 2 activities that bring you joy, as opposed to cramming, you know, everything that you love to do in the one day. And slow travel is where you immerse yourself in the one destination, in that culture, in the energy of the land and the people, instead of, you know, 5 time zones in 3 weeks. I've done all of this. I've done it.
Yeah, and, I've never been a fan of that. I just don't get it. I just don't get it.
Or, you know, like business trips tacked on to one after the other. And then slow work is where you really step into your authentic power, and where you're, I also speak about like slow marketing, and it is a very personal and unique way of building a business that is literally an authentic expression of who you are. So it's not following the latest hacks and strategies of what works for other people. It's finding those things that move the needle for you. So, I mean, this is where the deep work comes in when I work with people, because it's like, what is right for you? What is your true pathway? And yeah, so mine is all about achieving your huge goals, and is it on your side?
Yeah, look,
No, is that on your side, the noise? Okay. So it's about achieving your huge goals and experiencing financial bliss while you relax and rejuvenate. And that is the ethos of my brand, but it's literally my life. It's how I live.
Yeah, and that's being in your true authentic self. And
yes.
I think it's, you know, the people that do live that slower lifestyle and have that deeper connection, it's hard to achieve, but once you do it, you go, oh my God, all the noise I allowed into my life for what? You know, and I think that right now, people are starting to acknowledge, oh my gosh, there's a lot of noise coming in. Interesting, the global wellness trends were just released today.
Yes, I know, because I was supposed to be there yesterday, but obviously I wasn't in New York.
No, but interesting, one of their big trends now is that whole
analog wellness.
Yeah, get off the internet, just go back to slow, go back to the way, and take your time, do things for you, have fun.
Yes, I agree with that. But there is just the one thing. See, sometimes what happens with trends and people, they go from one extreme to the other. So, like, as a human, you're supposed to be here to experience the depth and the width of what life is. Is that on your side, Chris?
No, it's fine. My side.
I can feel a lot of crackle on my side.
I am fine, but let me just do this.
Yeah, that's better. Whatever that was.
I've just changed out of my headphones.
That was making a buzzing, crackling sound just in the last minute or two.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Yeah. So sorry, you're talking about these. It's a trend 1 minute, it's gone the next.
Yes. So I firmly believe that people need to, have moments in time where, they're off your phone and they are immersed in, doing something that doesn't involve the digital and all of that. But at the same time, one of the beautiful things about the technology that we live with today is the fact that it allows us to access the world. Do you know what I mean? As opposed, so you don't need to get on a flight for 24 hours or 10 hours or 5 hours or whatever. Sometimes you can access certain things that you may miss out on because you can't physically be there. So it's not a case of completely shutting out technology. It's a case of knowing when to dip into it and out. And a lot of people don't know how to manage that.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
So I think it is it can be a beautiful juxtapositioning in a more harmonious way, as opposed to it being, okay, you just need to completely go off the grid and do nothing and whatever. I think there is a place for both.
Oh, 100%. And gosh, I couldn't do what
It's like exactly. Okay, so your magazine's coming out, the physical one, but the digital one will reach way more people. It always will. And also for us, technology, just now, we don't have to physically meet in order to do this interview and have this conversation. So there's so many beautiful things, and also with my sound, there's only so many people I can physically touch, even if I travel the world 100 times over in a month even. So it needs to get to people. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think, we have to use technology to our benefit.
Yes.
And, to save our time so that we've got more time to then disconnect and do the things that bring us joy.
Exactly.
But instead we then sit on our phone and scroll through garbage and, don't actually do anything meaningful. So I think we are now acknowledging that, okay, digital and tech is wonderful, but when it comes to things that make my heart sing, I want to actually start going back to that low tech. So to be able to sit down and read a book and thumb through pages as opposed to an e-book and, have a richer experience, which, it's like anything, it's an addiction. It's just knowing when to draw the line and to go, well, this is no longer serving.
Yes, and I think there's another, and also there's then the other side of it, right? So it's like the sustainability side of it, where, the storing and storage side of it. So when it comes to books, and I actually came across this when I published my book 2 years ago, and I actually asked my clients, I'm putting out a digital version and obviously it's coming out in paperback, And because I love paper, oh my gosh, whenever people used to tell me years ago, it's a digital world, paper's going to go away, I used to always say paper will always be here. It's never going to go away. Like, I love opening a book or a journal and just smelling the pages, you know.
Yeah.
And so it was really interesting when I asked people, they said, I love physical books, but right now I'm actually reading digital books because it allows me to take them with me, and I can read them whether I am on a business trip or whether I am on holiday, and I don't need to take extra luggage with a whole heap of books. So that was really eye-opening for me. And the other thing was, the digital books people loved because they didn't have to have like libraries of books and store them. Once they'd finished, they could have them with them at any point and then access it from any of their devices. So that was really eye-opening for me when I heard that, because I'd never considered that.
Yeah, and I guess it's horses for courses. I mean, if I'm going on holidays, I'm not taking 10 books because I want to immerse myself in the culture and meet the people. But
yes,
you know, so I would take a book, but and then leave it and gift it and give someone else the opportunity to read it.
Yeah,
you can't do with a digital book.
Exactly.
Yeah. Look, but hey, we're having a conversation and we are bouncing pros and cons, and that's where I think, you know,
that's what I meant by the tech has its place and the analog world has its place, but I think they're both beautiful together as opposed to one or the other.
Yeah, agreed. Now, just before we wrap up, are there 3 of your top tips that you would give for your slow living?
Okay. Let me see.
Even one. You know, what's your, if nothing else, try this.
I think knowing who you are.
Nice.
Because if you don't know who you are, then you're going to always look for things that works for other people.
Yes.
But if you know what yourself, like deep within, what really makes you take that deep breath in and just go, oh, I just feel so good. But most people don't know that. So they need to know who they are. I mean, it's a bit like, are you having coffee because you deeply, deeply, deeply are in love with that? Or are you having it because everyone else is having it? Or it's something you've always... Yes, or because it keeps you awake. Yeah. Or because it's what you've always had. That's the other thing. Are you doing what you've always done? Because you're... the person you are evolves, and you need to evolve with that energetic vibration. Otherwise, you stay stagnant. So what you liked, 3 years ago, it may not be right for you today. So it's how much in touch with you are you, and that's the only way you can create a lifestyle. You can't create it unless you know who you are.
Wonderful. Well, I think that's a great note to finish on. And let's all go off and find out who we are.
Oh no,
but I think happiness and you know, having that confidence in who you are, and having that, I'm okay with who I am, and I love who I am. So many of us don't actually acknowledge the wonderful traits we do have. We always look for our failures.
May I just say one other thing? And this is I think it's really coming out to be said. So a lot of times people also get triggered exactly for that, because if you know who you are, and if someone says something to you, it can't trigger you, because if someone says to me, oh my gosh, you're so stupid, I'm like, oh, that's funny, because I know I'm not.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So when you're so deep in your own truth and you're confident in that, you can't be shaken. And you're not going to get triggered. Therefore, you're more likely to create that deeper, more immersive way of living, which is what slow living is all about.
Yeah, lovely. All right, so look, thank you for your time.
Absolute
and your
pleasure,
wisdom.
Chris.
and
Oh,
look
my
forward to catching
pleasure.
up again soon.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.